guys, believe it or not, I've got a kid in junior. I'll tell you who it is after, you might know. Uh, Doing tight turns, plays in the OHL. Doing tight turns is an issue.
Yeah.
And there's actually quite a few guys.
Yep.
Isn't that something?
Yep.
And some guys just have a really hard time with it. Turning is really important. So it's like, okay, and then the buzzword for a lot of these things, like what, okay, I'll be honest with you. When I first started teaching hockey, like skills, I'd never heard the term before. I swear to God, I never heard the term before. Early on, someone said, when you do skating, do you work edges? So I looked at it, I said, pardon? Are you going to be working edges? So I just said, yeah. I think, like, in my head, I go, I know what edges are.
Yeah.
But I've never heard the
What do you
term,
mean,
are you
work
working edges? I'm like, so I had to say, okay, maybe I'm dumb. Maybe people are smarter than me. I said, edges, well, that just means skating.
Yeah. You're always working your edges.
Yeah, like, of course you're working edges. So these are
Yeah.
these buzzwords
Yeah.
that people love to use, the
Yeah,
term
what does that mean?
edges,
Yeah.
net front presence, like, and just
What does it mean? Yeah.
But so I was like, yeah, edges are turning. It's straight. It's okay. I get what you're saying, but you can just say turning, but that's a fancy word.
Yeah.
Some people like to use it, whatever. But so to me, turning is edges, and doing that figure eight, inside edge, outside edge work is working your edges, but it's just, to me, it's skating. But after your posture, I would say you have to get into turning. So turning, I guess part of edge work is I don't understand why it's so complicated, but when you think about it, maybe it is. If you're going to do a tight turn or any type of turn, remember I said skating starts with your head?
Yes.
Stick handling is from your feet. So when you go, anytime that you want to change directions, the first thing that needs to turn is your head. So I want to go right. I turn my head right. My shoulders follow. My body's follow. Your stick should follow whatever side you are. Everything else follows. Your hips will turn with it, and now you can go. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So turning is that. So I would say this goes along with your posture now, your head, your shoulders. You want to keep them balanced. So when you turn to your right, you don't want to be leaning forward. Your turn will suck. If you don't want to tilt your shoulders too much, your turn will suck. You'll be off balance. You want to keep that in line. Rotate your head and shoulders. Everything else will follow. And then when you're coming out of turns, add 2 to 3 quick bursts.
Right.
So you're coming out of a turn, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Because in a game, when you're doing tight turns, especially, that's your separation.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people will turn, the feet are stuck in the mud, and then the separation speed is not there. So get the feet moving.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, CALE MAKAR's goal 2 weeks ago.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So sweet turn.
Yep.
Nice and tight. But then he got moving, man. Like, he was humming out of that turn.
Yeah.
So that guy was gone. Like, he was gone.
No chance.
No chance.
No chance.
So that's a great example of it.
Yeah.
So the other thing I want to stick on, because you kind of just glossed it for a sec, is how your head dictates, and then your arms are going to dictate like where your blade goes, where your stick goes.
Yeah.
I want people to try that when you're turning. Pay attention to what is leading your turn, because especially with young kids, we find that on the ice, and you more than me, but people could have a hard time keeping the tight turn tight. Yeah. Because they don't do that. They don't lead stick. They don't lead puck. They don't lead with their head. They're leading like with their with their skates. Like they're keeping their stick in line with their skates almost.
That's my next point.
Okay. So anyways, focus on when you're doing that. See if you can tell the difference. Like do it as you normally would, but then do it with your head turning first, with the stick leading, and then see how much tighter you can keep that turn. Right.
So how can you measure it? How you measure this is, again, we go back to the principle of skating can be boring, and it's technical, and it's tedious. So as you're doing your turns, to actually understand yourself, to see if you're doing it right, you have to slow it down, because you can't analyze it at a full speed. Your brain's going too fast at first. Mm-hmm. So especially if you're young and you're on the ice, it's doing your tight turns or your turns slowly. So if I was a kid, and I do this with every age, I want you skating, and we'll do drills where you're turning, and it's going to be slow. As you turn, head first, shoulder stick follow, hips will go. Sorry, I got to get the mic. Everything will follow. You'll notice that. You'll just notice that pattern. I'm not saying, I don't want to get technical about it. Just you'll notice that pattern. Head turns, my body follows. You can't not go this way when your head, see what happens?
Yeah.
You can't not go.
Yeah.
So what a lot of people do is they forget that piece, and they're using all their lower body, or they're trying to turn their upper body, keeping their head straight. Like it's awkward, and people aren't dumb. It's just, oh, okay, the light goes on. I can be better at doing it that way. So the problems with tight turns, from my experience, too much edge on a tight turn. So when you go into a slow turn, and you like a really slow one, or like medium speed, you can get away with just using edges, turning to get the feel. But as soon as you're using some speed, and your goal is to turn on a dime like that, what has to happen is you're not just using edges anymore. So the one person I'm talking about in the OHL, it's like sometimes they'll even fall when you go really fast on tight turns, and it's like, wow, it's really hard for them to get it. But what you have to understand is, like, if we're coming in on and we're turning to our right, everything snaps. But what happens is you're performing more of a stop,
Right.
rather than just a turn.
Right.
So you'll notice when people do tight turns, if they don't do it properly, you're going to get those chunks out of the ice, because it's just edges taking the ice out, and then you don't have the balance, you don't have the quickness. It's never tight. It's never ever tight.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make that inside edge more of a break, like a stop.
Yeah.
And so if you see someone like CALE MAKAR the other night, when you see him do that tight turn, if he was only using edges, you wouldn't see snow flying. Right?
Yep.
The breaks and the rotation is what makes the turn.
Do you remember what game was that? Who they play? I want to reference.
Yeah, Chicago.
Was it Chicago?
Chicago. Yeah, he had Kirby Doc coming up the wall trying to flush him out.
Yeah, maybe I'll throw a link to that so people can watch that, because that's literally exactly what we're talking about. Like that's.
Well, then we could get into turning with pucks and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was,
we'll get into that later. Yeah.
So your outside edge needs to be the break. So another stopping, right? A lot of people just work on stopping, right? They work, but it's that outside edge that people have to work on stopping. Like it's that 1 foot stop. I think I have it on my thing.
Oh, wouldn't that be inside edge?
Oh no! So if I'm skating to you, I twist, left leg up, outside edge, right leg.
Oh, I see.
So to get into a crossover right away. So that edge is like, when people do it, you'll see you guys fall. Never worked it before. Those are edges to me.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So what also is beneficial when you're doing a really tight turn is if I'm turning to my right, as I go into that turn and apply some brake, is taking my right foot and actually taking it off the ice for a split second, and then slamming it on the brakes. And now you're generating force in there, so that your outside leg can push out with your inside edge.
Yep.
I know that's a lot of stuff.
No, that's good.
In words. Hopefully I painted a picture that makes sense.
Yep.
But so again, for your skill development, is you need to spend time on these basics. I mean, we're talking about having guys in the OHL that are having a hard time turning, like tight turns. See, the point of the tight turn is your escape and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
So if you can't do it at high speeds, there's no point in even doing it, right? You have to have balance and power. And then again, every time you get out of a tight turn, especially when you master it, is the feet move. The feet move.